Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Hello, Arizona. Welcome to the Lawgitimate podcast with your hosts, Mike and Rochelle Poulton, where we share our legitimate perspectives on how to get ahead and stay ahead in law, business, and life. I'm Mike Poulton. I'm the managing partner of Poulton & Royan here in Phoenix. This is my lovely wife, Rochelle, also an attorney. Tell us about yourself, Rochelle. Oh, and this is our dog, Bobby, who's coming up under the table here, bumping stuff around.
She insists on pets throughout the entire show. So if you see the table wobble, it's the bobble wobble. And I'm Rochelle Poulton. I'm a consumer rights attorney over at X Firm, but I will be joining Mike's practice at Poulton & Royan early next year. Exciting, fun shifts. More on that later. Not on the show. In today's topic, we were talking about business, starting and growing a business in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, what to hope for and expect in 2021. And it's with our favorite guests, the Sip Happens crew, Annie Cav with Annie Cav Salon, Kelly Lorenzen with KLM Consulting, Irene Ploski with Independence Insurance Group, and Kenyatta Turner with Freedom Consulting. And they're all awesome, and they will all give you their own intros shortly. But Mike, you want to tell us anything else about your awesome self?
Yeah, I suppose, if we're going around and doing the long intros. So I've been an attorney for about 8 years. I do real estate investing and business law here in Central Phoenix. I've done a lot of litigation. I used to do primarily medical malpractice, but over the course of the last year with the pandemic, we've shifted focus in our firm, and we're no longer taking new injury litigation cases and are focusing exclusively on our business practice and on real estate law. So that's something we're going to talk about more over the course of the show today, the changes that we've made, how difficult that's been, as well as changes in your business, Rochelle. So yeah, that's the introduction. So for now, what matters to the audience is that I do a variety of business consulting and business law and have my own investment activities that I do on the side. That's why I'm doing this.
Fun times. All right. What about you, Annie?
I own Annie Cav Salon Studio, and I also own the Melrose Vintage Market. And the hair salon industry has been hit pretty hard this year with sanitation and social distancing, which are just sanitation's par for the course, and social distancing is not. So that's been a big challenge, and running large outdoor events here in Central Phoenix and trying to be really agile through all these, governor stipulations about how many people can gather indoors, outdoors, licensing, all kinds of stuff. It's just been a huge challenge this year too.
Fun stuff. All right, Kelly, you're up.
Kelly Lorenzen. I own KLM Consulting, business development firm here in Phoenix. Been an entrepreneur 18 years, so lots of stories and fun times owning businesses, growing and moving on. So I feel you, Rochelle. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. And Irene.
Hi, my name is Irene Ploski. I own Independence Insurance Group. We are an insurance brokerage agency, and we focus on personal and commercial insurance. I've had my agency for 11 years, been in the industry for about 17 now, and we help individuals and business owners with their auto, home, and commercial insurance needs. We represent over 50 different insurance companies. And so we help everybody shop around for the right combination of coverage and price. Good to be on, guys. Good to see everybody.
Good to have you.
Great to have you. And last, but certainly not least, Kenyatta Turner.
Hey, everyone. I feel like a regular. Am I a regular yet?
Yes.
Okay.
All of you are regular.
You're all regulars.
It seems like this is so cool, and it seems very often, and it probably isn't as often as it feels like, because is that what it is? Okay. As business owners, time goes by real fast. That's what I find out. It just goes by. So my name's Kenyatta. I'm with Freedom Empire Consulting. I help my clients to build and shield their freedom empires. I'm a behavioral superpowers coach. I am an influencer. That is my behavioral style. And with Legal Shield, I offer legal services and identity theft protection to my families and business owners. And if you see me looking down over here, it's because in 2020, I've been learning technology, and I'm trying to do a watch party with this live into my Facebook group So that's what 2020 has taught me about how to do stuff like that. So that's what I'm doing. Thanks for having.
So you have your Facebook group watching this podcast and you're interacting with them on Facebook during the podcast?
Not yet, but that is my intent. That's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
Heck is fun.
Pretty cool.
That's
So
my goal.
anybody else out there, look up Kenyatta's Facebook group, join that, and you can chat with her. Preferably distract her while we're talking to her. Just really try to split her attention and get her confused on this. Maybe text her on her phone too if you've got her number.
Oh my gosh. That's so ridiculous.
I'm doing it right now.
And he's like, I'm on it.
So our topic for today is how to grow a small business, starting and growing a small business. And that's a lot of what we talk about on this show every week. It's a big emphasis of the podcast is how to start a business, what to think about, what to avoid doing. And the reason we've got you guys on here is it's December. It's getting to the end of the year. This is one of our last shows for the year. This has been a very difficult year for most businesses. It certainly has been difficult for both of us. Our dog, man. This is just
2020.
She is not comfortable with us conducting a podcast right now. She insists that all of our attention must be dedicated to
I'm already petting her.
Man,
I keep turning this way because
this is a 65-pound dog trying to crawl into our lap under the table. Anyways, business is hard. It's like trying to pet a dog and run a podcast at the same time, It's really difficult to get ahead and stay ahead in business and life. So we've got you guys here because we've known each other for quite a while, and we wanted to have a chat again, like we usually do, about the big issues and difficulties, and talk a little about our business and our difficulties this year and how we're dealing with that and the changes we've made. So that's what we're up to while we pet our dog under the table.
That's not a euphemism.
Not a euphemism. Literally petting the dog.
Sure you are.
Oh, man.
I love that dog.
Wink, wink. Okay.
I think one of the biggest changes all of us have seen in 2020 is the complete shift, doing as much as possible virtually. Having people, I think, Annie, you're even doing your consultations via Zoom instead of having people come into your office for the first time, or to your salon. Sorry.
That is correct. I offered like FaceTime and Zoom consultations before, just because we normally talk for 10 or 15 minutes and you don't need to leave work early, go home, take your pants off, meet me on FaceTime. It's totally fine. So yeah, I've had a significant increase in just online consultations, which has been great. People can ask questions and can see you still. So thanks for technology. But yeah, that's been hard because people don't want to come in yet. We're not everyone's ready to come in.
Is that something that you mentioned that you had tried to offer that before? Or is that something that you had completely set up and worked out a system for in advance of COVID? Or did you have to figure out how to do the remote consultations during the coronavirus?
No, I did offer that before. So I have all my bookings are done online. So one of the options you have a menu of different kinds of consultations. You want a face-to-face, which is now called a mask-to-mask consultation. Then you have a remote consultation. So you just pick one of those and then you leave me a note with how you would like me to set up that appointment, or I will email you and hound you down for your preference and how to contact you for that consult. So it worked out pretty well.
Awesome.
For us, I was used to doing initial consults by phone. Almost everyone who contacts our firm does it by phone initially. But previously, I'd been scheduling people to come in for meetings after a brief call with either a receptionist or one of our staff members. But now everything's virtual. We switched to all remote work, except for one person in the office, half days occasionally, just to deal with paperwork. So I've gotten used to doing consults exclusively by phone. I've not been doing Zoom meetings or video conference because it just doesn't add that much to a legal practice. I imagine it's a little harder to assess people's hair over the phone.
Virtually impossible. All I can really do is listen, gauge, maybe like ballpark what I think you're actually asking me for, and basic price quote, but I still would like to actually see in person. So being online is just easy. We like tick all the boxes that I need for a needs analysis, and we do it online. Except like actually what condition is your hair in, because I have to touch it to really assess that. But we can get past that in our online consultations.
And Kenyatta, you've been primarily virtual for a while, right? I mean, you're a master networker. So what's that like?
Well, I was already Zooming BC before COVID anyway, because I network with people all over the world through the magic of LinkedIn. Hashtag LinkedIn is magical. So I was already connecting with people. That's how we had LinkedIn lattes, we call them, right? You meet someone on LinkedIn, hey, we should have a LinkedIn latte or just get together on Zoom. So I was already doing quite a bit of that with anyone who would want to do that with me. So when COVID hit, it was a very interesting time. It was in early March. I was in Atlanta doing my accreditation for behavioral superpowers. My plan was to come back after I'd gotten that accreditation and that training and really start, fleshing out the rest of that piece of the business. So it was when I was in Atlanta that people started elbowing each other instead of shaking hands. It was like during that first week. All my plans that I had to meet with people for coffee, real life coffee dates, everyone called and they were like, cancel, because they didn't know what's going on. And I was like, this sucks. I couldn't do anything I wanted to do when I was in Atlanta other than the training. So I came home to a quarantine and got to work. That's basically what happened. I had no choice, so I'd already planned on doing certain things with my business, and literally the quarantine made me just sit down and do it. And I was already doing a lot of things online. So then I just shifted gears. So it was a seamless transition, if you will, into, okay, I guess I'm stuck online now. But it was already to my benefit to do so. So for me, it was one of those situations where there was definitely what is that? Napoleon Hill said, with every adversity, there's an equivalent seed of opportunity. So that's exactly what happened with me with this particular situation. And I ran with it. I was like, all right, guess this is what we're doing now. Let's go.
Good deal. What about you, Irene? You run an office with staff and you've had a lot of in-person activity for years. What has the process been like for you?
Well, we were very well set up to work remotely, to service clients remotely. My team and I were already set to be able to work anywhere. We all have laptops. So we had a pretty mobile operation going before COVID as well. We established the technology long before COVID. However, that's also my downfall because I'm not a very techie person. I'm just not at all. So fortunately, I was able to find the right people to help me establish all the technology necessary for us to be able to work out of anywhere with an internet connection. And so my team and I have pretty good processes in place to be able to follow through on everything that we need on a daily basis. And same thing with our clients, we're able to service them from wherever and whenever. So it was a very easy transition for us. My challenge really was same as Kenyatta. I was used to doing a lot of networking and having a lot of one-on-one from a power partner standpoint. That's how I built my agency. And so having to change that from a personal meeting to an online-based meeting or a phone call wasn't so much of a challenge as it was for me missing that. And it's something that I've longed for all year, is to be able to see people, whether they're clients or power partners. That has been probably the toughest thing for me. Business-wise, we've had a great year. Actually, we've had growth compared to last year. So my team has stepped up. We've been working on training on a weekly basis. We get together, we have meetings, and that has allowed us to keep rolling and adapting to all the changes this year. So while it's been an easy transition in some ways, it's been a challenging transition in others. But we've been fortunate that we've had a good year overall. And that is, I credit it to the amazing relationships that we've been able to build over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, what about you, Kelly?
I thought for a long time that I could help only people in my area because I was such an in-person. I want to hug people and see their faces, and so I assumed before BC that I had to do all of my client meetings. I call them brain dump sessions in person. Write on the whiteboard and do everything in person. Well, obviously being forced to not do that made it actually really nice because I have clients now all over the country and can help a lot more people by being in my chair, 8 to 10 hours a day, as opposed to going to see everybody in person. So I've seen a lot of growth in the last year because of that. So I'm thankful for now it being a commonplace thing, right? Whereas before it was like, if I would have said, oh, let's just do Zoom, like, why can't you just come to my office? That doesn't, so it's, I think it's been nice the silver lining anyways, is that I can help a lot more people and it's more commonplace.
I agree with Kelly too. That's awesome. How you great perspective about how now you can meet with people all over the world when you couldn't before, and figuring out a way to do that. And I'm one of them, even though I'm in the same city, but but that global piece, that's super powerful. And one other thing I want to throw real quick, I didn't mention that did change. So I used to teach, I still teach at a community college. I teach a personal development course once a month, and I did that in person. So I forgot there was something else that I did that I had to really make a shift. And so did my students. So these are students who don't have GEDs yet, and they're coming to my seminar before they can take their GED course. And we used to do that face-to-face over on Real Salado, And I guess I have to give kudos to Maricopa County Community College systems because they went from, doing everything ground for all their ground classes to every single employee and student online. And I think 4 hours is what it seemed like. Now, granted, it wasn't that, that short, but maybe 2 weeks where they had us all figured out. They had us all the platforms. They hustled to make that happen from a college organizational standpoint. You think about big, we're all small companies we're talking about, but I saw it happen with a large organization in such a way that allowed me to still teach my students. And now they have challenges with technology and different things like that, or just the fact that they don't like school anyway. So they definitely don't like online school. So I've had to learn to shift to teach students who already don't want to come to school. Now they have to come to school online in order to learn. And I just kudos to the students that are making that happen and figuring it out because they've got a multitude of challenges and they are determined, to continue their education in the midst of everything. So I just had to throw that out there because kudos to them for figuring that out when they could just they could not do it. But they're pushing through it anyway. So it's pretty cool.
I do love the shift to more online trainings because in a lot of industries, they can require continuing education for attorneys, continuing legal education, all these seminars, blah, blah, blah. And they're all freaking online now. Whereas before, you would have to go somewhere and sit in a room for 4 hours. But now, if you just want the content, you can just kind of whip through it at your own pace. And, a lot more companies are really investing in recording their trainings and making them available virtually. It's so funny, even in real estate with, certain companies now, they're like, oh, we'll just do our training via Zoom. We'll do our sales meeting via Zoom. Whereas before it was absolutely not. You've got to come to the office. And it's just been such a great shift for, I think, everyone's vehicle maintenance purposes and time.
Vehicle it's definitely more convenient.
Sound like a true strategist. Vehicle maintenance purposes. I love you, Rochelle.
I don't spend 15 hours a week driving anywhere anymore.
Right.
It's I can spend a lot of time cooking, cleaning my house, organizing things, catching up on email. Who knows? Reading. It's kind of
back there, very organized.
Yeah, so it's been fun. I think the educational component, I think for younger people, under 25, it's probably a lot harder. I think especially for school age kids with the online education. Sammy on my team has, small children, and I don't even know how she does it. She's working for me full time, doing law stuff on the phone while she has a small child that's not in school yet and a child that's in school, but doing it online. And I just don't understand how parents are doing that right now. I just have no idea the amount of patience that's required. And I know Kelly is one of them too. So what's it like for you?
Luckily, a lot of work ahead of time, to make them independent, make them understand, like, here's the rules. We were talking about that yesterday. Like, they know. I just saw them leave for a walk. Like, they know they have to exercise. They have to get their chore done. They have to do their schoolwork. Like, they have all these responsibilities. And then they have a reward, to do their electronics at night. If you set up the systems, the same as it with your business, the same as with clients. If you set up the strategy, like we're talking about the end of the year, right, for next year, if you set it up ahead of time, then there's not so much struggle later, right? I mean, it also helps that there's 10 and almost 15. So that, they're not tiny little kids either. But the nice thing is then they come in and they hug me in between, and we have dance parties in the afternoon, like there is some positive if you just spin it the right way, right, to them too.
Love it. Spin it.
Gotta spin it.
All about how you say it.
Yep.
I've certainly heard from some people who've said that their kids have had a real difficult time with it, but others have said that it's been a whole lot harder on the parents, that kids are pretty adaptable. They get used to it quickly, but it's harder for us to give up our adult routines and accommodate having the whole family at home all the time.
Yeah. And Irene, you have teenagers. What's it like with them?
You've got it muted.
Sorry.
Now we can hear you.
So for me, it's definitely easier. My kids are almost 18 and almost 16. So they are definitely more independent. One of my kids chose to go back to school in person because the social aspect of it all it's crucial for him. My daughter continues to do schooling at home. So I think it's like Kelly says, so yeah, setting up the strategies and setting up expectations as well. And Kelly, you nailed it. You nailed it, because that is so true with children and with clients and with your team. Setting up expectations makes such a big difference on what is expected from the other party. So for me, I wonder, just as you do, how do parents with young kids do it? How do they go to work? One of my team members, she has 3 kids. 2 of them are younger, and she works as well from home. So I wonder how she does everything, but she gets everything done. So it is impressive, and I couldn't even begin to tell you. Yes, I'm a parent, but I have it easier because my kids are older. So I would love to learn how parents with younger kids are surviving all this and keeping their sanity, because I don't know.
They come see me for their sanity, Irene. To get the head way for everybody, because I don't let anyone else come in unless you have an appointment. It's a kid-free zone.
Yeah, I think one of the other major professional shifts Mike and I have seen is, the shift to doing more court stuff online. Like all of my hearings these days are telephonic, whereas before it was like, no, you must come in for this 2-minute hearing. And it's like presumptively telephonic. So it's just been really weird. And you can do court filings online, whereas, before that wasn't really an option, which is kind of insane. Welcome to 2000 with email and fax, but we're finally there in our court system. So in a lot of ways, the catch up on using the technology has been a real positive. But on the downside of things, I think a lot of businesses are struggling, especially that had employees where they've taken a hit with, income. Like the cost of client acquisition is higher these days because there's so much more competition. Unemployment rates are still pretty high. And so more people are starting more businesses. So it's just been a real fascinating, shift in seeing, how many people are advertising that they can help you with their SEO, your marketing packages. I don't know how many spam emails I get in a week from companies offering to help me with marketing. Mm-hmm. Are you guys seeing the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm learning to do the marketing. So I look at those like emails like, do I need your help? I might. I might. I mean, it's like in this day and age, it's interesting. A catalyst has to happen to force some things to happen, right? So there's amazing things happening right now that weren't because we didn't have to. But then now we have to, all of a sudden we get creative. We come up with all these brainiac ideas like, oh, we could do this. Like I'll go back to one of my favorites, the zoo, walking around with doing live stream at the Phoenix Zoo so people can watch what's going on at the zoo. They could have already been doing that.
Yep.
Right? But there's no reason. Yeah, they didn't have to, Now, so things like that, come out of, the catalyst is like, oh, people can't come to the zoo. Oh, we should do live stream. And I'm sure someone said, we probably already should have been doing that. How come we weren't doing that? Hey, asking questions, But either way, I hope it's something that doesn't go away. But with the whole marketing thing is like, now it seems like if you are not, because you can't go out to do your business, you darn well better figure out a way to do it online because you can't go out to just let the people see you, and build the relationship. So I'm one of those people that is trying to embrace this whole, granted I was online before, but I wasn't digitally marketing myself before, I wasn't doing that actively or with any sort of strategy. And my strategy now is even weird. Kelly will tell you, she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, whatever, but I'm trying to work it out because you have to have a presence in some way or people don't know you're there. Unless, you've got massive books of business and tons of referrals, which I have a lot of that because in Legal Shield, I can do that online anyway. So that's pretty cool. I don't have to go meet face to face to do that. But with this new business I'm building, I have to brand myself. So when these SEO things come in, I'm like looking at it with a side eye, like, do I need that? Do I have that? Can that work for me? Because I do have to learn to brand myself digitally in the new age, which is cool with me.
Send it to me. I'll let you know if you need it or not.
Thank you. God, Kelly.
Well, Kenyatta, that raises a lot of interesting points that I wanted to bring up today. And it's certainly one of the challenges that our firm has dealt with and that Rochelle's practice has dealt with. And that is that a lot of different industries have seen huge shifts in approaches to marketing and in the subspecialties within those fields that people are targeting. In law, in particular, estate planning has become saturated because it's an easy thing for almost any practice to pivot towards. So anyone who had difficulty with their initial practice area or their primary practice area early in the pandemic wanted to add estate planning or to re-emphasize estate planning or pivot to it.
Why? Because people will be thinking about their mortality and they're going to want to get their wills and trusts and powers of attorney done. I mean, it was a logical thought process for attorneys to make, but people are not actually that practical.
And it's certainly not fair to say that estate planning practice is an easy practice area. There's a lot of depth and nuance involved in it, but it is a practice area that pretty much any attorney can get up to speed on the basics of.
It's just
pretty
contracts.
quickly. So it's pretty easy for any attorney to pivot to estate planning, unlike certain other areas. So we tried to do that. And what we discovered over the summer, as soon as we started to try to advertise for estate planning, is that everyone else did the same thing. So the Google AdWords automatic auctions for estate planning related keywords became immediately unaffordable. If you look at the trends for those keyword auctions, early in the pandemic or before the pandemic, it was fairly affordable. It was a well-functioning market for that type of exposure to get the client acquisition and the clicks onto your website through paid placement like that. But then the problem occurred when everyone pivoted towards it and everyone assumed that they could just throw money at AdWords and acquire clients that way. Well, normally that works fine as long as your market sector isn't completely saturated. But if you're jumping into something that's irrationally saturated, where the market for advertising hasn't reached an equilibrium, you end up with a situation where people are willing to pay far more per click than what it's worth. So you don't get placement unless you're willing to pay 20, 30, 50 bucks a click for somebody who's looking for estate planning work. And that's not viable because you don't get a high enough conversion rate and you don't get enough profit per client for that to make any sense. So the people who are winning those auctions and getting their keywords placed and getting the traffic driven to their website are most likely paying far more than a profitable amount per closed lead. And this is an issue not just with estate planning, although we discovered it in that area, but with a number of other practice areas as well, including Rochelle's practice areas.
Yep, debt settlement, bankruptcy, credit repair, credit litigation, credit attorney. Everything I do has been completely saturated, plus a bunch of other practice areas. Business law is kind of getting in there. So for attorneys who are thinking about starting their own practices, it's like, well, you're kind of in a rough spot looking into 2021, specifically because one, market is highly saturated with law firms right now and attorneys, and two, people don't need the work. A lot of people are still kind of real panicked about what's going on with their livelihoods, what's going on with their lives, and some of them just flat out can't afford a lawyer. So, thinking about moving into the market sector for attorneys, Phoenix is a big place, but it's also a big expensive place. And it's expensive to maintain your license here on your own. So if you're thinking about jumping ship, you may want to just stick with where you are.
I would say all of the low-hanging fruit got picked clean early this year. And what's left are a few squishy oranges way at the top of the tree, and it's probably not worth the climb.
Squishy oranges.
Yep.
Yes, I know. And, for bankruptcy attorneys, there was a huge flock to doing bankruptcy because it was just presumed that people would be in financial distress, especially now with, the rent moratorium ending at the end of the month. And we've already seen about 3,000 evictions a week right now in Arizona. So it's kind of messy. But at the same time, people are not filing for bankruptcy. It's down 20%, but most firms have pivoted towards doing bankruptcy and are paying a fortune for these leads. So you've got a decrease in overall client ability and an increase in, client acquisition. And it's just a recipe for disaster. So law firms are just hemorrhaging money right now. So if your attorneys are hitting you up to pay their attorney bills right now, it's because they need you to pay.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
It's ugly out there.
Yeah, so that's been interesting for us, interesting in the worst possible way. But I've also noticed that I've had quite a number of people calling with business law concerns that have resulted from the pandemic. And a lot of them are people with brick and mortar operations, food and beverage, hospitality, spas, salons, quite a number of salon owners with the typical issues that come with a cash flow crunch, difficulty with landlords, difficulty dealing with hopefully temporary insolvency. And it's just real tough. I don't have a lot of great answers for them. There are a lot of things to talk through and small points to analyze to try to come up with ways to get through it. But it's been difficult for a lot of different areas of business. And I think on this call, we've got a few of you who are affected and a few of you who have thrived. And that's great.
Yeah, insurance is a great industry. Professional consulting is a great industry. There's just so many holes that need to be filled. Real estate, loan officers right now are doing great. Some real estate agents are doing great. Real estate tends to be a feast or famine kind of thing. There's tons of construction going on right now. There's still over 300 people a day moving to freaking Phoenix. So, yeah, it's pretty nuts. Something.
Speaking of construction, my husband owns an electrical company, and it's insanity, like absolute insanity. You can't keep up. He said he had a call today from a guy, like a referral from a referral. This guy knows nothing about my husband, right? Calls him, and he's trying to talk him into being the contractor on a 6-story hotel. And he's like, wait, he like nuts, who are you? Like, ask my husband who, what kind of business? Like, he's literally trying to talk my husband into doing the job without even knowing anything about him. That's how desperate they are.
Wow.
So construction is out of control. And I think we need people. I think people need to know that, what they say used to be blue collar, right, is now should be considered white collar, making a lot of money. And these kids need to know that they can go learn a trade instead of just, having to go to whatever thing, be an influencer or whatever, not you and Kenyatta influencer. I mean, like an Instagram influencer, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
You have to know that there's all these other options. And if we start to train the kids younger, that there is options in construction, that real estate, I mean, my clients who are in real estate are killing it, like just insane. And people that are, if they had trouble with their mortgage, they can't really pay. Well, guess what? We all have, if you bought, most of us have ways to refinance and still have money left over, or you can sell it. I mean, the market is crazy. So I think we also need to see the other side of it, right? That yes, there are a lot of people who are suffering, but there are a lot of fields that they're still viable. Irene, I'm sure you can say, like, insurance is a very viable business. Construction is a very, real estate, like you said, professional consulting. I mean, there's a ton of businesses I have a home care agency as a client that they can't go away, like people still need caregivers, right? So that can't go away. So there's a lot of businesses that can still thrive through, any of this, as long as, they keep up with, with everything else that they have to do.
Yeah. The trades, especially, people need electricians, you need someone who can do carpentry. Like, these are, industries that are not very well filled in the Valley. So for those, 20 somethings wondering what are they going to do with the rest of their life, now is a great time to learn a trade.
Absolutely.
Because they can pick it up and drop it off, pick it up, drop it off, like throughout our lives. Like I don't feel like doing it right now. Or, I want to do commercial. Or, you can pick it up and drop it up as much as you want. So I think people, like, we're remodeling both bathrooms. I mean, we can't get people here fast enough, like, come on, 4 months later.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you make a very good point about having a skill like that you can use when it's advantageous and come back to throughout your life. I never worked in a trade, but I was in construction prior to law, and having that experience has been incredibly useful to me ever since. And although I came in a project management role, I made a point to be on job sites and played around as much as I could with the tools and learned as much from the tradespeople as I could about how to actually do the job to really get something built in real life. That knowledge, the understanding of how things actually get built and being able to participate in that and make something useful for people, that's something that everybody ought to have, I think. You ought to have some understanding of how to do something that produces a product that's of physical value to people, because it is something you can come back to. And there are a number of people who are speaking more on this in the last few years. Mike Rowe is certainly one of them, advocating for the need to educate people on trades and how to have a hands-on career. And that's a great message to send to people, especially with this kind of an economic upset. It can show everyone how valuable it is to have a different skill set in your back pocket that you can turn to when you need it.
Good point. Hey, when is your pyrotechnics going to kick back up? When does that happen? And that's a good skill to have, right?
That's a very interesting thing you mentioned. In terms of industries that have been hit very hard, the fireworks business has been hit really hard by coronavirus because
no one's holding shows.
It's a business that counts on one day a year for the vast majority of its revenue. Even a company that does a lot of shows throughout the course of the year, as some of the larger ones do, they've got them for football games, they've got them for New Year, for prom, all that stuff. Nah, doesn't account for much revenue. All the revenue comes on the 4th of July, one day. And these companies are not really equipped to survive for multiple years without having that one day's revenue, because you've got to own all the equipment, you've got to have the vehicles, you've got to keep the people on tap so that they can come off their day jobs and come do fireworks for one day a year. And it's not something that you can just suspend for a whole calendar year. And yet that's what they had to do this past year. So we'll see how it shakes out in the long run. But that is actually an industry, the pyrotechnic events industry, that really has been severely affected by coronavirus.
Yeah, even with
this year with no fireworks.
What'd you say, Annie?
I'm sorry. It was the saddest. My birthday is 4th of July, so it was the saddest birthday ever. Was my first year without fireworks this year.
Aww.
Yeah. We were going to join fire crew with Mike Rochelle and I. So,
wait a minute, that's right. And then,
First year in quite a few that I haven't shot a show. So yeah, unfortunate, but hopefully it'll all come back.
I live a sparkler.
I'm not holding my breath for that.
We'll see. I don't know.
We're going to be close, though. It's going to be real close.
Well, you can just have one in your backyard, right? That's legal, right?
Right.
not in this state.
Not in this state.
Yeah, I mean, like, California is still.
Are you sure, lawyers? Are you sure?
all I heard was road trip.
That's
right. To drive somewhere that it rains.
And that's currently nowhere in Arizona. Like, this whole coast is kind of a little fiery at the moment.
What a cool thing, though, to get to, that could be transferred, like you're saying, in construction or the fireworks or, to transfer those. I had a call this morning and she was in the hospitality industry and now is in transportation of organs. I mean, talk about a totally different shift, right? And she's like, I would have never thought that I would be in that industry, but that's okay because you can transfer skills, I mean, taking this one thing that you learned, you can transfer. I'm sure all of you can attest to that, owning a business. Like, you got to know a little bit of everything, right? You have to know. And so transfer your skills. It's okay. Like, okay, we just keep accumulating more skills for the next business we're going to do. So I think that's not a bad thing to have all those skills.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You can always fall back on organ transport when everything else doesn't work for you.
Those organs got to get to where they need to go to.
Yes.
Somebody's got to get them there.
Critical need.
People need livers. That's why they call it your liver, because without it, you're a dyer. You got to have that liver.
Mike, did you just make that joke up?
No, that one's been around for a long time. I'm not that good.
It sounded freshly made up. Like it was. I was like, what?
Super nerds.
Irene, I think you chipped in with something a minute ago, but you've got yourself muted, so we couldn't hear anything you said.
I was just gonna add. That's so true. What Kenyatta was saying is how all those opportunities are generated by a catalyst. So something that triggers people getting creative to either changing the way that they do things or just going into a different field, but something triggered that. And it's interesting to see how many businesses continue to open, how construction keeps going so strong, and how other sectors are halted. And that is the perfect catalyst for people to get creative and start new ventures and just go to where they always dreamed they would go. It's like, this is the perfect time. Another thing that I've struggled with this year is seeing the demise of customer service.
Yes.
Yeah, customer service everywhere has tanked. And if you're a business owner, please make sure that your team does not fall in that hole. Make sure that your team steps it up and does what nobody else is doing, which is rocking clients' and customers' expectations. Everybody has really shown how mediocre they are and how bad their training to their employees is. Because everybody is, if you call your bank, if you call the phone company, anybody, their excuse is, oh, well, we're understaffed because of COVID. Oh, our turnaround time sucked because of COVID. Or, yeah, we didn't get back to you because of COVID. And so COVID has given everybody the perfect excuse to show how mediocre or how excellent their company is. And how bad or how good their leadership skills are towards their team and how they lead their company. So my advice to every existing business owner or every person fall into that, make sure that you surpass expectations and make sure that your team are on the same page and don't be like everybody else.
For sure. I think this has been a great opportunity for clients of salons to fire their hairdresser and to walk away without breaking up with them, to just not go back. So one of the growth things I have seen, I can't speak for other salons because some of them are probably crap and losing clients left and right, but I'm gaining 2, 3, 4 new clients a week, which is like unheard of.
Yeah, girl.
I think in the month of November, I had magical clients. And yeah, I fired my hairdresser in the middle of this and went to someone else because you can just walk away, and clients are doing that and they're seeking out other businesses. Like Mike and Rochelle are talking about, there's a lot of competition. So you're going to find the person who's going to treat you the best and up that customer service, up that client relationship, and they're going to stick with you. This has been a great time to sort of glean some new clients, at least in my industry, to kind of take over someone else's mishap or what Irene was saying, like just all of their faults, all of their shortcomings with customer service and how people talk to each other, how available people are.
Well, I know, kudos to you, Annie. I got Taryn comes back with raving reviews. You know, one of your newer clients, you know, she walks in the house and she's like, I'm like, what are you doing? You know, she's like, you know, I was just with Annie.
I woke up like this.
Yeah, she's like, what? You know, so yeah. you do great work, and people come, and the customer service, obviously, that you're providing. I mean, you're just amazing anyway. But obviously what you do and how you take care of people matters. And like you said, if you're gaining 2 or 3 clients a week, that's amazing, you know, in this industry and what's happening with your particular industry. When people are staying home, just letting their hair, I'm sure they're letting their hair do what their hair does without you.
It's a nightmare.
I'm just blessed. I don't have to worry about that, even though I do need to come in and just have you like rub my scalp for me. Like, oh God, you know, and like, you know, wash my hair. But that's fantastic. That's a testament to just how amazing you are at what you do and what you provide for people. So that's awesome. Congratulations.
I think people get their social outlet in the salon too. You know, if they're just stuck at home, they come out to the salon, they can talk to someone. I don't know. I like to give all my clients pep talks, you know, just a real change of scenery for people. And it's something that they need and something that makes it feel normal. Yeah. And like right here, ready to take that on. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think it's interesting combining what you're talking about, Annie, with what Irene was saying about the demise of customer service and the change in people's attitudes. This is an unusual time, and it is unprecedented, certainly in our lifetimes, and it's almost unprecedented within living memory. And I guess it literally is, in the sense that our modern methods of communication, the internet, cell phones, everything else, never existed during a prior pandemic. The last time we had a serious pandemic would have been polio, was the time of landline telephones and radio and early television. So a lot of the things that we're dealing with now in terms of adapting to new channels of commerce were not really available then to affect businesses. So now we're dealing with this, and we see the situation arise where businesses are forced to close, and that gets rid of all your revenue for a little while. And then when you can reopen, you're at limited capacity and you've got this distanced personal interaction that goes on. And it's easy as a business owner under those circumstances to lose your metrics. You know, all of your past history is worthless for defining your future performance. You've got to start from scratch with new metrics. And it's easy to look at the pandemic as the cause of your entire drop in revenue and your continued drop in revenue. And that may be, but what you're missing is everyone else who's a potential competitor, including people who were not legitimate competitors before, are now going to be seeking to take your business. Those people who are not there, they're going to be going somewhere else. And you've got all these new methods of acquiring clients and new approaches to providing the services. You've got people like Annie doing Zoom consultations for hairstyling, which previously was not really a viable thing. Now everyone wants it. And suddenly, if you're willing to offer that, and if you have a smooth process for acquiring new clients and continuing to deliver good customer service, you can be like Annie and take many of your competitors' clients on a weekly basis because they've lost track of their business performance. And they think they're losing to COVID, but they're actually losing to Annie.
Yeah. You know, well, and they're
not taking anything. I just have an open door.
Well, and Mike, that's such a great point. They're losing to themselves.
Yeah.
Because they're not taking that seed, diversity seed, they're not turning it into an opportunity.
Absolutely.
Because you can either just sit on your hands and now granted, those of you listening who were like, oh my gosh, she's so insensitive, she doesn't know what I've been through.
Yes, we
figure it out.
Yeah.
Is what I'm going to say. Because what are you going to do? Are you going to lay down and just let the business that you had go away? And if that's the case, then make a new business. Maybe maybe that one is gone for now, whatever. But like, you don't have to like look at it like that's all you can do. Now, I'm going to give you two examples, very interesting ones. First, my roommate is a tattoo artist, and she has been doing Zoom consultations for tattoos. Now that's like Annie, right? You guys had never did that before. Why would you? You didn't need to. And, so she had to kind of get acclimated to that. Now she's like, this is the greatest thing in the world. You know what I mean? And she's busier than she's ever been, and she's doing these consultations online. Next one is a friend of mine who lives in Pennsylvania, who's an organizer. And she would come into your house and help you get all your crazy stuff together, right? She wasn't working at all for several months, and she's on this networking meeting. And we, the networkers on the call, kept mentioning to her, how come you don't do that online? You should try that online. Donna L. Dunn, I'm talking about you if you're listening. She got a place for everything as her business. And finally, one day, she's like, because she didn't think she could do it. And then she said, well, let me try it. Mm-hmm. And then she tried it. And then now she's like, I'm offering virtual organizing things and it's working, and I know people who've used it. And I'm like, there you go. Right. So again, the business owner is giving up their business if they're not making a decision to think how they can do it differently. So, and again, it may or may not apply to all businesses, but if it doesn't apply to your business, then and you love being a business owner and an entrepreneur, it might be time to think of other business, maybe organ transport. I don't know, but something else to keep your livelihood and your business going and contributing to society and the legacy of your family. Just don't give up. You don't give up. Someone needs you for something. Figure out what that thing is and give it to them.
Inspiration from Kenyatta. Absolutely accurate. And, here's the thing. I will admit, I have been one of the losers in coronavirus early on here. The pivots that I made ended up being into saturated areas, same pivots everybody else made. And I didn't see that coming in advance. Mm-hmm. I'm warning everybody about it now, but that's my own hindsight that's providing this advice on this podcast. I'm the one who tried to pivot to estate planning. Rochelle emphasized bankruptcy. It is what it is. We learned those lessons the hard way. But the bottom line is that you can't just stop because something didn't work.
No, that's ridiculous.
If it doesn't work, you got to make the call as soon as you reasonably can. Once you've given it a good shot and become aware of the situation, you got to make the call that you're going to abandon that and you're going to move on to something else that is going to work. And you just keep trying until you figure it out, because business is difficult. And as you said, Kenyatta, it's not an excuse. Coronavirus isn't an excuse. It may be a reason for needing to change things, but you can't just call that an excuse and say, well, it didn't work out and that's not my fault. It's COVID's problem. No, it's your problem. You're the business owner.
Right. Absolutely.
I feel like a business owner's got to get to a really dark spot to just throw their hands up and be motionless and in their own suffering, just like a woe is me. I feel like I'm not saying that business owners aren't getting to that point where they're just like, screw this and out, but at least the business owners I know so agile, so creative, so determined, right? That it's like they're going to figure out something else. But they're going to pick themselves up and dust themselves off and keep on trucking and feel like rolling over. Ugh.
And they're going to hang out. They're going to get together and hang out with people like you guys. So I just have to shift gears and say, I miss Sip Happens. I don't think we did it last month. I don't know why. Rochelle, I'm going to blame you because you're the one who sends us the text that says it's Final Friday. But I need that. I'm just saying, cry.
It would have been Black Friday. I think
it was Black Friday.
Was it Black Friday?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I'm Black. So what? Why can we've got together? What's the problem? I don't
It's
understand.
always final Kenyatta's patio.
I got a table out here. It's seat 6. You guys are coming over. We can sit far away from each other.
I like it. I like it. The sun is setting and it's like right in my face. So if I sit back, I can't see it at all. Anyway, I think it's been a rough year for some business owners and for those that are feeling the pressure and the decision. Like, it's December, next year is a whole new opportunity to do something different. And, sometimes you just have to cut your losses or figure out what you can do to move forward.
I just launched a new program today. Boom. 3-day challenge. I just finished it up. Yeah. I know dust growing under my feet or grass growing, I'm doing stuff. So yeah, make a plan, do something cool, figure it out. There's no reason, like you said, not an excuse. It could be a reason, but it's only what you make of it. Right. And you figure things out and you decide what you will not let stop you. I mean, I think that's really what it is, because again, if it's not this, it's something else. Because you know what, it dawned on me the other day, how people are always like right now, everyone's like, oh my God, I can't wait for 2020 to be over. Come on, 2021. When have people not said that? Every year. Oh my God, 2017. I can't wait for 2018. I mean, like, that's like the historic thing. Everyone's always waiting for the next year. This year is no different than that. I don't know what they think is going to happen next year that they're waiting for it so much. But again, what if something happens that derails you from your business or your goals that isn't COVID? What then? It's not the first time that business, okay, granted, those of you who are listening to me who are like, oh my God, she's so insensitive. She doesn't know what I've been through. Whatever. It's not the first time that you struggled in some kind of way about something. So what are you doing to steel yourself to prepare for adversity and challenge? Because it's going to come again. It just may look different than this.
And
something else will come.
To make 2021 better than 2020 was? Aside from just waiting for the world to change, waiting for a COVID vaccine, waiting for a new president, if that's your thing, whatever it is you're waiting for, are you just waiting for the surroundings to change? Or are you going to change something in 2021 that makes it a better year than 2020 was?
Absolutely. Exactly.
Putting your dreams down on paper, right? Putting your goals and dreams and put the strategy behind it and have it in writing. Put it in writing and have it all up. I had big, huge white pieces of paper on my board. We repainted and everything, but yeah, like everywhere, right? Yeah, you just put it all up and consistently look at it. I mean, I just hit my big goal for 2020. So, you just got to keep visualizing it and have it there.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So even when you feel like you don't know what you're going to do, you still have to make a freaking plan. Otherwise, you won't get anything done.
Yeah. A 12-week plan, by the way. 12-week plan, not a yearly plan. It doesn't work. Just saying.
I was going to say, and then give people reasons to follow you. Give people reasons to choose you versus your competitor. You don't even have to be super aggressive, but just give them more value, make it better, analyze what you do, how you do it, check out how others do it, and make it better. Give people reasons, and it all boils down to legitimately caring for people, caring who pays you, who gives you money for the transaction or the service or the product. Just care for what you deliver, care about how you deliver it, care about the team that helps you, and care about your clients and their needs, and just be honest about it, and it follows.
Absolutely.
But
that's a mic drop. Mic drop on Irene.
Boom. Yeah, honor where your paycheck comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Let's remember, like, the legs upon which your business rests.
Absolutely.
And your customers.
Well, it's always a pleasure having you guys on, and we're a great crew. This is a good time.
We always have fun.
Thank you guys very much for joining us, and that is Lawgitimate for today.